Happy to have you watching CNN Student News this Wednesday, the 30th and last day of November. I'm Carl Azus. First up, a tragic accident in the South American country of Colombia. A plane crashed in a mountainous region Monday night while traveling from Bolivia to Colombia. It was carrying 77 people, including a Brazilian soccer team, and of those 77 on board, at least 71 were killed in the crash. Some people did survive. No one knows yet why the plane went down. A CNN meteorologist says there had been some rain showers and thunderstorms in the area, and that probably would have made flying conditions turbulent. Continuing bad weather kept the Colombian Air Force from getting to the crash site, so officials had to travel there by land. People throughout Brazil are in mourning. The soccer team had been scheduled to play a Colombian team in the first leg of the South American Cup Finals today. Sevier County is in eastern Tennessee in the Great Smoky Mountains, part of a region that's suffering with its worst drought in almost 10 years. The dry conditions have been fuel for wildfires. Without much warning, flames jumped toward the resort towns of Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge Monday night. At least 3 people in Sevier County died in the fires, but rescue officials haven't been able to get to all of the affected areas. The smoke is thick, the fire's unpredictable. They say the worst appeared to be over Tuesday morning, though some major tourist attractions like Dollywood and Parrot Mountain and Gardens appear to be okay. Hundreds of buildings around the area were damaged or destroyed. People were ordered to evacuate, but some were surrounded by fire and had nowhere to go.
Unfortunately, we saw a few people here earlier today that were rushing out to go try to find their pet because the flames were just encircling them. One man had to get in his car, he put the pedal to the metal, and he said he drove straight through the flames to get out because they were completely surrounding him. Some of the firefighters this morning were saying that because of the wind, it was knocking the trees down, which was knocking the power lines down, and that was sparking more fires. And so it just created this domino effect that we couldn't get ahead of last night in Gatlinburg, and it's still unknown how many structures are damaged, how many of those beautiful historic structures are damaged. People's biggest fear and rumors and what we hear is that it could be hundreds of structures, and so people here are just waiting to hear what to do next. They don't know if their neighbors are okay. They have a lot of fear. They just have the clothes on their back and they're waiting to hear what to do next. It's an incredibly stressful time.
Law enforcement investigators looking into Monday's attack at Ohio State University now believe the attacker was inspired by terrorists. Abdul Razak Ali Artan wounded 11 people with a car and a knife before an OSU police officer shot and killed him. Yesterday, officials said Facebook postings that Artan made before the attack referenced ISIS terrorist propaganda and a Yemeni American Muslim cleric who worked for the Al-Qaeda terrorist group before being killed in a U.S. airstrike. What officials don't know is if Artan actually communicated with the terrorist group before the attack. Hundreds of workers at Chicago O'Hare International, one of America's busiest airports, went on strike yesterday. They were joined across the country by Uber drivers, fast food workers, graduate assistants, home care assistants who were participating in what was called Disruption Tuesday. This event was organized by a group named Fight for 15, as in $15 per hour. That's what the group wants the U.S. federal minimum wage to be. Currently, that wage is $7.25 per hour, though some states and cities have set higher minimum wages of their own. Travel wasn't significantly disrupted at Chicago O'Hare. A union spokeswoman said that wasn't the workers' goal, and the airlines knew the strike was coming and made plans in advance. What striking workers there and in other parts of the U.S. wanted was to raise awareness about their cause. The Fight for 15 group says without a $15 an hour minimum wage and union rights, workers who make less struggle to feed their families and pay their bills. There were arrests in several U.S. cities where strikers blocked streets and refused to leave. Critics of the Fight for 15 goals say the higher minimum wage would force businesses to reduce the number of people they employ in order to pay others the increased wages. They also say companies might eliminate benefits like health care to cover the increased wages. The U.S. depends on space more than any other country. Yesterday we showed you some ways how through technology like GPS, and we discussed how an attack on that technology could be the next frontier in international warfare. But the U.S. mission in orbit isn't just to monitor and defend. It's working on weapons that could strike back against any empire's orbital aggression.
In the Persian Gulf, an instantaneous burst of energy destroys targets, first on the surface, then in the air, its deadly firepower moving literally at the speed of light, obliterating its target, the Navy says, like a long-distance blowtorch. This is the U.S. military's first operational laser weapon, and today it is deployed to defeat incoming threats at sea. Could it someday be used for targets in space?
Firing lasers in space.
Potentially.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
When you get into this, you get into all sorts of other classification levels that I'm not cleared into.
This would require a major strategic shift for the U.S., deploying weapons for use in space. And so many took notice when, in April this year, Deputy Defense Secretary Bob Work vowed that the U.S. will strike back if attacked in space. Strike back, he added, and knock them out.
From the very beginning, if someone starts going after our space constellation, we're going to go after the capabilities that would prevent them from doing that.
That sounds like an offensive response to an offensive weapon. If shot, you will shoot back?
Let me just say that having the capability to shoot the torpedo would be a good thing to have in our quiver.
When we started this project, I thought of this stuff as being conceptual. This is something they're thinking about doing, preparing for the future. But the fact is, it's happening right now. There are already lasers that have targeted satellites in space to blind them, dazzle them, put them out of commission. That's a current threat, the possibility of deploying lasers in space. But there are other weapons or things that the U.S. is concerned are weapons that are already up there. Russia has launched a satellite that stalks U.S. communication satellites, circles them, the concern being it could ram into them or disable them in another way. China has launched a satellite that has a grappling arm on it, a robotic arm that can grab satellites out of orbit. Of course, China says, well, that's for maintenance. The U.S. concern is that that could steal a satellite out of orbit, a key U.S. satellite, whether it's a spy satellite or GPS satellites. This is the world we're living in today, not in some sort of distant science fiction future.
Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. That sentence has long been associated with the U.S. Postal Service, and especially in winter weather, it's comforting to think that nothing will keep the USPS from delivering mail, or reindeer from delivering pizza.
Who needs reindeer?
Rudolph, with your nose so bright.
To deliver presents when they can deliver pizza? Domino's in Japan says it's training reindeer at a driving school to deliver pizza in one of Japan's coldest, snowiest regions.
If a reindeer runs properly, it can go as fast as 80 kilometers per hour. It's especially fast on snow, as though it's equipped with snowshoes.
The trainers seem to be having trouble reining in their pizza delivery reindeer, which would be equipped with GPS devices so customers can check on their progress. So how do you say publicity stunt in Japanese?
Publicity stunt. 宣伝行為.
Domino's is no stranger to marketing ploys. Take the edible box Domino's UK dreamed up for April Fools. Just last month, Domino's in New Zealand demonstrated the pizza delivery drone. It flew to the appointed address and lowered a pizza. Company officials in New Zealand say that in the next couple of years, drones could make up 25% of deliveries.
If it's wet outside, you could call that a reindeer livery. Assuming they're cooking up more than a pizza publicity, though, is this the antler? Seeing a reindeer on the front porch might slay some people, but if that pizza's cold or late, no one's going to care about the animal. I'm Carl Azus delivering fresh puns for CNN Student News.